Algebra 2 skills number 40, switching exponential logarithmic forms. So we're going to talk about a log form for the first time. And you can see this color-coded example of how we have an obvious fact, 2 to the third power is equal to 8. Well, we can resort this in what we call log form. As we go through our examples, we'll try to understand what this log form is and what it's good for. But notice two things here. One's to understand the order, and another's to understand how it's written. So first, the order. 2 to the third equals 8. When you change forms, the 3 and 8 seem to switch positions. Okay, so you start with the same number. You start with the 2, but then you go to the 8, whereas you finish with the 8 here, and you come back to the 3. Okay, so that's the first thing to notice. And the second thing to notice is how it's written. Obviously, we've got this log here, short for logarithm, but this 2 is a log base. It is written noticeably lower and smaller than these normal script 8 and 3. So the 2 is supposed to be written small and low. Note also, this kind of resembles 2 to the 8th power, but that's not what is intended here. This is not 2 to the 8th power. We read it log base 2 of 8 is equal to 3. So with some examples to help with that, switch to logarithmic form. Obvious fact here, 4 squared is equal to 16. I'm going to switch that to logarithmic form. Again, I'm going to change the order, and I'm going to change the style in which I write it. Okay, the 4 is going to be start us off, but we go to the 16 and then come back to the 2. Notice also, again, that 4 is written nice and low and is smaller in size than the 16 and the 2. Some people like to use a little curvy arrow here. They like to start with the 4, draw an arrow around the 16 and back to the 2 to help them with that order. We could go backwards and switch to exponential form. Log base 5 1 over 125 is negative 3. So here we have this. Again, start with a 5, come to the negative 3, and then back to the 125th. The script here is well known by this time. Again, we want to re-emphasize here, this 5 is low and it is small compared to the other two numbers. Notice also, though, that when you're going to exponential form, you're at a bit of an advantage here if it's all numbers, in that only one combination of those numbers makes sense here. Okay, so if you tried any other combination, like negative 3 to the 5th, that's not going to be 1/25th, for example. A third example, if we're switching logarithmic form, this time we have a base of 10. Bases of 10 are special here because we generally don't write it. It's called a common log. So when you see log but no base written, it's understood to be a 10. Okay, so you just don't see it written a lot. So I know that. Also the calculator, which we'll use along the way here. We're not going to use it in this slideshow, but we will in soon to come slideshows. The log button on the calculator, it understands base 10. A fourth example, we're going to evaluate without a calculator, so this helps us understand what a log is. Remember, if we change this to exponential form, 3 to some powers is equal to 81. So a logarithm is an exponent. It's the exponent necessary to raise 3 by to make 81. So you might play around with the calculator, just think to yourself, 3 raised to what power is 81? Well, that'd be 3 to the 4th power. Fifth example, this one's a little harder. 2 raised to what power is 1/8? Well, you know 2 to the third power is 8, and since 8's on the bottom, that would be negative 3. Again, a logarithm is an exponent, the exponent necessary to raise 2 by to make 1/8. Notice again the 2 is written small and low compared to the 1/8. Finally, the sixth example, now this one seems rather difficult. Log base 8 of 4, 8 raised to what power is equal to 4? And you think, well, how's that happening? 4 is smaller than 8, but how do I raise it to an exponent to get there? Well, what you have to think here is actually roots. Okay, so if you think the third root of 8 is 2, and 2 squared is 4, so if you puzzle that together with your knowledge of rational exponents, you'll determine that's actually the 2/3 power. 8 to the 2/3 power. Again, because this bottom is the index of the radical, the cube root of 8 is 2, and then take that 2 and square it to make 4. So a little more challenging there, but that's exponent to log form.